Hello, Mildenhall, and welcome back to your next episode of MildyCon Table Tips, where we talk about some of our favorite tabletop games. This time we are continuing on with Dungeons & Dragons. During the last episode, we started talking about your player character or PC and how you might be able to build them using your player's handbook. We talked about races, but this time we're going to talk about your class. So think of the class as the type of adventurer you want your PC to be. This will determine your learned skills and abilities that you use in combat, exploration, role-playing with other characters, really anything that you do within the game. So if you are choosing a class deliberately, one of the first things you'd want to decide is whether or not you want to be a magic user or play a character that relies more on their physical abilities, what we like to call a melee class. So here's what you have to choose from. If you're a fan of magic and spellcasting, you can choose from one of the following: Wizard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Bard, Cleric, or Druid. You have 6 primary spellcasting classes that you can choose. Now, just to give you a brief overview, a wizard, you would be devoting your life to the study of the arcane. Your magical abilities are developed through intellectual pursuits and experimentation. As a sorcerer, your ability is innate rather than learned. It's something that you're born with. This means it will take a lot of intuition and willpower to mature those abilities and prevent them from getting out of hand. For a warlock, your power will come from a pact or an agreement with some sort of otherworldly being. It could be a deity, a demon, or some other type of ancient entity from the age of creation or from a different plane of existence. Now, a bard is an entertainer, the storyteller of the party. You will cast your spells through music, rhyme, and performance. You will also be very charismatic and persuasive. As a cleric, you are the classic healer. This class is usually inspired by the divine, and you'll have some sort of patron deity who will aid you and your fellow adventurers in times of need. And finally, you have a druid. A druid's power is drawn from the land itself, and many druids will be devoted to the protection of nature and the creatures that inhabit it. So those are the spellcasting classes. If you prefer using a non-magical melee-based class, try one of these 4. You have a fighter, a barbarian, a monk, and a rogue. As a fighter, you are a classic hack-and-slash warrior, proficient with swords, axes, bows, really any weapon you can get your hands on. As a barbarian, you are relying on your brute strength. You are extremely strong and powerful, and you are not going to be bothered too much by a rough and tumble adventure. You're going to be the primary damage dealer or damage recipient in your party. You're going to be quite the tank. Now, monks. Monks will often adhere to a strict training regimen to perfect your natural abilities, and your most deadly weapon is your own body. So your attacks will utilize your own inner energy rather than magic, and it's called ki. So finally, you have the rogue, a very tactical class. So you could be a sly assassin or a thief that strikes from the shadows. You're going to be very stealthy and quiet in your movements. So if the barbarian is the brawn, I'd like to think that the rogue is the brains. So then you have 2 more classes that are sort of hybrids between the magical and the physical options. You have a ranger and a paladin. As a ranger, you are a master of navigating the wilderness. You could be a scout, explorer, monster hunter, and you can easily survive for days away from civilization and those creature comforts that people are accustomed to. You can also use some nature-based spells that will help you track down your target and traverse the wilderness. Now, as a paladin, you are going to be a knight who has sworn some sort of sacred oath. Like clerics, they will often serve some sort of deity, and you can pair your stronger attacks with healing and divine abilities. So, those descriptions I gave are the basic starting points. Each of these classes has another set of domains, subclasses, or circles that help to give your character more flavor. For example, if you were to play a druid, within the player's handbook you have 2 other subclass options. You could be Circle of the Land or Circle of the Moon. With Circle of the Land, you would be able to harness the natural energies themselves coming from the forest, the sea, the desert, any of those different types of elemental focused abilities. As Circle of the Moon, you would have the ability to beast shape or wild shape. You can take the form of a variety of different creatures and animals that you encounter during your travels. So, those are the classes. Once you've chosen that along with your race, you'd want to think about your background. Some players actually like to start with the background or backstory and work from there, and that's actually my preference as well. I normally start with some framing questions, such as where did my player come from? What did they do before choosing a life of adventure? Were they a farmer, a researcher of some sort, a performer? There are so many different options. Why did they leave in the first place? What motivates them? What do they aspire to do or become in their life? You don't have to go into this much detail if you don't want to. It's just one way for you to explore the persona that you're creating. So if you flip through that player's handbook, you'll find a whole chapter on possible backgrounds to choose from. You could be a researcher, as I said before, an acolyte, a soldier, or even a criminal. So all of those indicate what your character did before becoming the adventurer that you play within the game. Each background option also comes with additional skills and proficiencies that you can use in-game. So as you can see, there are a lot of possible combinations. No matter what kind of character you want to play, guaranteed there's a way to bring them to life within D&D. So that wraps up this episode. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of introduction to D&D and character building, and we'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone. Have a good time with MildyCon. Dora out.